Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome back to the next part of the artifact set review. Today we're gonna wrap up the review with the remaining health items and consumables, and then we can move on to recording some drafts or constructed tactics in the coming days and weeks. Alright, let's take a look. Okay, so first we have Traveler's Cloak. It may be a basic item, but it is a very good one. The item is in fact so good that it frequently manages to make its way into item decks of constructed decks, especially constructed decks that are bad at killing heroes. For example, once again, like in limited blue-green, the blue-green combo and control decks frequently end up with these, since they only get gold after their sweepers usually, and they need ways to make the heroes survive, especially the blue ones. And in limited, this is a powerhouse. Basically, your item deck should always, under all circumstances, basically start with 3 of this. If your deck has a heavy money theme, that's like the only case where I could see running less than 3 of these. You want 5 health items. So if you have other good health items that are a bit more expensive, then you could forego some of the Traveler's Cloaks for those. But usually your normal draft deck wants 3 of these plus the 2 next best health items that you could get during the draft. Next we have Raftel Signet Ring, basically Traveler's Cloak for 1 gold more, with the upside of reducing the bounty of the unit by 3. This is a pretty decent item, basically because you cannot pick Traveler's Cloak in draft, so this could be your Traveler's Cloak 4 and 5. It also happens to potentially be a bit better in constructed than Traveler's Cloak, since the 1 gold more is not that big of a deal in constructed, at least less than in limited usually. And when decks are built more dedicated to kill heroes, then the -3 bounty upside comes in more handy. I've mostly seen this in aggressive decks, like red-black aggressive decks, where there is a fair share of gank and duel and stuff going on. So your heroes are more likely to die or trade with the opponent doing that, and then having a signet ring to reduce the bounty is nice. Next we have Ristool Emblem. This is a bit of a weird card, honestly. Yeah, it's another health item, the typical +4 health, cost 4 gold, and it gives the equipped hero -2 armor as well as -2 armor to the unit blocking equipped hero. So it doesn't even give it to all enemy neighbors, only to the one blocking it. It effectively ends up giving your hero +2 health and the unit blocking it -2 armor or -2 health. But keep in mind the -2 armor works particularly well if your unit has Retaliate, like on Legion Commander, then it effectively gives your opponent's unit -4 health, for example. But the armor can also be the minus armor can also be a downside for your hero because of opposing Retaliate and other splash damage, flank arrows and stuff like that. It's a pretty weird card. Not something that I think you usually want to put in your item deck. In constructed, definitely not. In limited, not much either, but it's something that can be fine to pick up from the secret shop sometimes, especially when you just need a health item or when the armor enables you to kill something that you otherwise couldn't without losing your own hero. Then we have Stonehall Cloak, one of the best items in the game. Basically a Traveler's Cloak for 2 gold more that gives you +2 health after the combat phase. So your hero just keeps growing bulkier and bulkier and bulkier. This also is particularly nice to outlast Ignite, Conflagrate, or March of the Machine lanes, because the item just kinda soaks up the damage from these. In constructed, you'll see this in a lot of decks. It's a staple. In limited, it's one of those items that you want to pick really high. Normally you don't want to do that with items, but that's one of those that is very valuable snatching up. Unless there are premium cards in your colors, you might want to take this over some decent cards. Also, this basically shows what I meant with the other Stonehall, like growing items, how much worse their rate is compared to this. Then we have Assassin's Veil, a pretty nice item, especially in limited, especially in more aggressive decks, particularly on red or black heroes that are very good at killing other heroes. This can help you make sure you get the opposing hero. If you don't land right in front of them, you can potentially get them if they are one of your enemy neighbors. Or you can also pick off powerful creeps to the side of you that might otherwise just relentlessly bash your tower and so on. 6 gold is kind of expensive, so keep that in mind when building your item deck, but the ability comes in quite handy. I've liked this item quite a bit, especially on the red and black heroes that I mentioned. Then we have Face Boots, a different take on this. It lets you swap the hero with an ally. This both comes in handy in aggressive decks once again, especially for hitting towers, for example, or landing in front of opposing heroes to make sure you can take them down. For example, put this on a Solar Khan and just jump into a free spot, deal 12 to the tower. It's very powerful. It also works quite well on defense, helps your hero get to a safe spot. It also helps your hero reposition for cards like Berserker's Call or all the green heroes with their buffs to their allied neighbors and stuff like that. The card is very versatile and is pretty good in limited and sees a fair share of play unconstructed, even because it just gives you a lot of utility. 6 gold is a bit pricey. Once again, like if all you get is that hero kill early on, you roll this, it's gonna item block you, because then you that's the thing. 3 gold is the kind of item range that you can even get without a hero kill, just from like some lucky creep kills over 1 or 2 turns. 5 gold are the kind of items you can get if you killed 1 hero. Otherwise they're going to take fairly long. And 6 gold are the kind of items that already usually require you to kill a hero and at least 1 creep, and that might take even longer than 1 turn, and you can usually not expect them to get them in the first chopping run on average. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of gold thresholds. Then we have Fur-Lined Mantle, another health item. Not that great. It's costs 2 gold more than Stonehall Cloak, and in 2 turns Stonehall Cloak gains you the same amount of health for 2 less gold, and then keeps making your hero even more durable after that. So it's still in not a constructed card, but in limited it's still fine if you need additional health items, and especially in decks that have a little more gold from cards like Iron for Goldmine and stuff. This can be quite nice because the boost is pretty strong and your hero almost always survives no matter what he is fighting. Next we have the Golden Ticket. This card was very powerful before it got nerfed. It used to cost 7, now it costs 9. I think the average gold price was like 10.6 or something, so you're still getting on average more gold than you paid, but you always have the potential to just low roll and burn some gold or even get kind of a bad item, because there's a fair share of not so great items. So the card has quite the variance, but you can also roll some high impact powerful item for cheap. So mostly a limited card, I think, but in limited, especially in for example, I like it in my red-black aggressive decks because you are fairly good at getting gold, but you still don't want to play super expensive items because you don't have active gold generation. You just have the hero killing stuff that happens a lot, and yeah, they are just randomly rolling something powerful with this off some early hero kills can really snowball the game, and you're also not that dependent on your item deck, so it's not that big of a deal if you don't get the high roll from this. But yeah, be mindful of this card being still fairly pricey at 9 gold, so item locking you sometimes, and yeah, having the potential to kind of just giving you that poor low roll. Then we have Book of the Dead, another pricey health item, the usual 4 health, and you add a charge counter to Book of the Dead after an allied melee creep dies, and every 2 turns you can summon a zombie for each charge on the book and remove all charges. So it kind of brings back the melee creeps that died as like 2/2s effectively every 2 turns. So not terrible. Like I've played this as an item deck filler in decks that were a bit better at generating gold just to get to like 5 health items, and it has been fine, but it's nothing to write home about and nothing that I'm excited about putting in my item deck, but it could be worth better than not having enough health items, I guess. Next we have Pleasureem Hourglass. This is a pretty powerful item. It's also fairly expensive, so you have to be careful which decks you put it in. In limited as well as in constructed, make sure that your deck can afford it. But if your deck can afford it, I think this is a pretty powerful card, especially in constructed. Once you have, like, a lot of decks run 2 of these. Once you have accumulated both, they stack with each other, so your opponent basically has to wait 2 turns till they get to use the cards they drew in their draw step or from whatever card that drew them a card, and that is super powerful and often keeps them without action for a while and lets you pull ahead. So, and it is particularly good against like decks with a lot of card draw, like control and combo decks in constructed, like the blue-green combo deck or the blue control decks, and this can give them a really hard time. Next we have Obliterating Orb, another one of those cards that in particularly exists, so you can roll it in the secret shop if you need it, but sometimes you might want to put it in your market, at least in constructed. There are a bunch of powerful improvements in constructed, and there are colors other than red that don't happen to have smash their defenses, and then Obliterating Orb can come in really handy. Also the fact that it doesn't cost any mana and doesn't require a hero of a specific color to be in the lane is also a pretty big upside. I've seen a bunch of decks that have one of these in their item deck and constructed at times, and it's also potentially a really nice secret shop roll, like I said. Then we have Ring of Tarask. This item might seem kinda enticing, and it effectively gives your hero 10 extra health with the potential to heal up if they don't take damage. So basically makes your hero kind of unkillable by damage effectively usually, but 12 gold is so much, and it's just not a good rate for what you're getting, and a fur-lined mantle usually gets you the same for almost half the price and is much more affordable. This will just end up item locking you from your item shop even in the mid game plenty of times, so just don't put it in your deck in any format really. Just something that you can randomly pick up from the secret shop if you have gold to spew. Next we have Cloak of Endless Carnage, basically same as with Ring. It's basically a fur-lined mantle that costs 6 gold more, just so that you draw a card after an allied neighbor of equipped hero dies. That is fairly situational, and yeah, just not really worth the gold investment unless you really have gold to spare, and then that's something that you only pick up from the secret shop. Don't put this in your item deck. Next we have Hero's Cape, arguably worse than Ring of Tarask in my opinion even. It costs 3 gold more, and the 4+6 regeneration I think are effectively a bit better than the 16 health, because there will always be downtime where your hero isn't taking damage or isn't taking 6 damage, and then the ring is gonna heal them back up, which is really nice, while this doesn't. So yeah, don't put it into your deck, even in limited. Pick it up from the item deck if it makes a hero survive that otherwise would have a hard time, and you have gold to spare really. A lot of these items are just something that you can occasionally pick up from the secret shop but never want to put in your item deck. Then we have Shop Deed. Each item in your secret shop costs X less gold, where X is equal to its base cost. So effectively, this makes your secret shop items free. So every turn you can basically just buy the secret shop item for free. Once you played the second of this, I assume, I haven't had the situation, but I'm pretty sure you get the amount of gold the item costs. So it basically costs like negative its gold cost. So you get the gold it costs when you buy it. So you're actively generating gold for something like Mercenary Exiles or Revtel Convoy and stuff like that. But yeah, this is super situational. It almost never comes up. Another thing that you don't really want to put in your item deck, there might be sometimes these long grindy games where you get this from your secret shop and you just go for it for the fun and because it might bring some good stuff and you don't have other use for those 22 gold that you have. And last but not least, we have Horn of the Alpha, one of the go-to gold deck items as payoff. It's a bit expensive though, 25 gold is a ton even for those decks, so it might get your item locked in the first 2 turns or something and might cause your heroes to die. I think the main deck that is playing these right now in Constructed is the blue-black gold-based control deck, and every 2 turns you can summon a Thunderhide pack for free, which is pretty powerful, especially if you can buy this, say, on the 3rd turn and drop an 8-drop for 0 power in that lane. Is very powerful, and once you summon the 2nd, that usually wins you the lane. So definitely a powerful item, but 25 gold can be very costly, past just the fact that it's 25 gold, but like the downsides of having such expensive items, especially in multiples, in your item deck. So be wary of that. And in limited, this is also only playable if you have the like heavy gold deck with gold mines, payday, and maybe bounty hunter and stuff like that. So it is risky. Don't go too aggressive for these. Okay, this concludes the review of the first set for Artifact, Call to Arms. We have talked about every single card for Limited and Constructed. Hope you guys enjoyed the ride. If you still have any questions about any cards, feel free to ask in the comments. Feel free to let me know in the comments what kind of content you would like to see in the future. I was planning on doing a draft walkthrough with games potentially, and maybe start looking into some constructed deck techs for the stuff that I've been playing lately. And obviously these will also include gameplay. And yeah, just give me some feedback. Let me hear what you guys like, what you're interested, what I could do better in the future. And of course, if you enjoy the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel by hitting the skull button and turning on the notification icon to not miss out on future content. You can also find me over here on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch live streaming. You can find all the information on that again in the description if you want to just click on it. And yeah, if you want to help support the content, please consider whitelisting YouTube to help support the content with ads. That would really mean a lot. Alright, that's it again for this time. This was the last part of the Artifact set review for the first set, Call to Arms, with the health and consumable items. I'm your host ManuS, I thank you for watching, and I see you next time. Bye.